Okay.
But, Alan, that was all soon to change. Unfortunately, the summer after his high school graduation, so he sort of goes through high school and everything's fine and dandy, he's living the life, but the summer after his high school graduation, his close friend Dean Richardson was killed in an automobile accident, which fucking sucks. This whole thing seems to trigger something in Herbert. It's sort of at this point where things start to change a little bit. Which I guess, whether or not it be physical trauma or mental trauma like this,
It's still, something's happened.
Something's happened, which is...
that's pretty significant.
Pushed him a little bit out of the quote-unquote norm, I think. What Herbert goes to do is he builds a shrine for his friend in his bedroom, and begins to start to obsess about, he begins to talk about like sort of reincarnation and religion and impending natural disasters.
Right, okay.
Like world ending, like Noah's Ark and, the apocalypse type of disasters, such things. In spring of 1966, something else sort of happens, which again pushes Herbert further into this realm of murderiness, is all I can describe it as.
Okay.
So he runs into a friend of, Dean, his friend, who died. He also had another friend, which people are allowed to do, have more than one. This guy was called Jim, and apologies if I do pronounce this surname wrong. I think it's Gianera. It's Gianera. Gianera or Guyanera. I'm going to say Gianera.
I would say Gianera, yeah.
Either way, we're just calling him Jim, first name. But he meets him at the beach and he bumps into him. And obviously, Jim probably feeling bad and empathizing with Herbert about the fact that the mutual friend has died. Mm-hmm. He gives him some pot. So he gives him a little bit of the marijuana.
Right, okay.
And again, slightly like the way that Herbert did with his dad in the boxing, he would go to retrospectively remember this a little bit differently from how it actually took place, saying that Jim had spearheaded a movement to befuddle and confuse him.
I don't get where he gets that from.
Well, you'll see. We'll talk about how his mindset shifts quite drastically, actually. His mindset drastically just because his life so far doesn't seem so bad. I mean, obviously his friends die, which fucking sucks. But we've had people in our lives die and things like that. And it's obviously I think he's obviously had something in there innately in there from day dot, maybe. And this is just these little things that just triggered him and pushed him further and further away. Yeah. Which is kind of sad, really, because if someone would notice these things. Maybe could have got some help a little later, maybe.
Yeah.
Herbert was quite a fan of marijuana, and he began to alienate his longtime girlfriend with his sudden involvement in hallucinogenic drugs as well. So he sort of moved from
and things like that.
Yes, and LSD as well, specifically. And he would so he was taking hallucinogenic drugs, and he was also obsessed with the idea of an impending earthquake in California and trying to up sticks and move to Canada to try and avoid it.
But the thing is, though, with California, and didn't you mention it was in near San Francisco area as well?
Yes.
There is going to be an earthquake. It's inevitable.
Good few earthquakes around that place.
It's on a fault line, right?
I think maybe it might be, because they've had a couple, right?
Yeah. It's on a fault line.
3, 4, I don't know. They've had some, but a few. But maybe that's why he was...
No, it is. It's called the San Andreas Fault.
Ah! Is this where the movie comes from?
What
San
movie?
Andreas? With The Rock? Dwayne The Rock Johnson?
I don't know.
No, I don't know. I've never seen it. Didn't interest me. He was also apparently prone to weird glares, so like staring at people strangely, and then going on bizarre rambles, and he was also slowly becoming more sort of aggressive in his personality as well.
Okay.
He finally told his girlfriend in 1968 that he might be gay. And, of course, at that point, their relationship was well and truly over because she was not happy with that. Drugs did, as you might imagine, become a big part of Herb's life, and his deteriorating mental state was helped along by huge doses of acid. Acid. It's a hell of a drug, right?
I don't know a lot about drugs.
I've never took
what is
acid. I've never took acid. Acid's a hallucinogenic drug.
Oh, is it?
But I've never took acid. Acid's like it's very 70s. Very 70s. Sort of like hippies taking drugs. You see all that sort of like tie-dye sort of shit, and you're like, oh man. I've never took acid though.
Okay.
It's probably one of the ones I've not taken. I've never been into hallucinogenic drugs. I never wanted to see something which I couldn't deal with.
Yeah.
Because, like, I hate the idea of taking something and then seeing, like, I don't know, a giant frog, or seeing my friend turn into, like, a zombie or something, and then me not being able to shake that. Well, what my fear is like, what if I see, because you know how on edge I am about everything, and, like, something makes me jump and I go and grab a knife because I'm ready, I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Imagine
of course.
Imagine if I took a hallucinogenic drug, saw my friend as, like, a zombie trying to kill me, and then went for a knife. That would be a creepy time, right? Well, not creepy time. That would be a terrifying time. I would be distraught once I woke up and the LSD took over.
Yeah.
That'd be not good. What if I jumped off something and tried to kill myself? Or tried to fly?
I'd be distraught then.
Oh my god!
Well, it's kind of like when we watched that.
Well, I don't do drugs now, so that's different. That's way back in my youth when I used to do that. I wouldn't advise drugs now.
It's kind of like when we watched that movie Wonderlust with Jennifer Aniston.
Oh, that was a very romanticized version.
Yeah, but she was just on the tree.
She was gonna jump. Yeah. That was ayahuasca, though, right?
I don't know.
I don't fancy ayahuasca. That looks horrible. Like shitting yourself and throwing up.
Yeah, but apparently that's what you do.
It's just a standard Saturday for me. So Herbert is pretty much tripping his tits off most days at the moment.
Okay.
In 1969, he randomly starts to imitate every movement of his brother-in-law, which becomes really super creepy for everyone. He starts to, like, just copy his mannerisms and, like, his speech patterns, and he follows him, and, like, almost like a shadow.
That would freak.
It's really
me out.
spooky dooky, right?
I wouldn't like that at all.
Apparently, this particular type of behavior is known as echopraxia, and it's a strong symptom of schizophrenia. So it's a legit thing that people actually have. It's not just someone trying to be a creep. It's like a legit mental health problem some people have. His behaviour, of course, frightened the family and friends, because that would be pretty spooky to witness. So they call a doctor in, who did actually eventually diagnose him as a paranoid schizophrenic. As they did back then, they just institutionalized him and put him in the mental institute.
Oh.
I don't really know I don't think the quality of mental hospitals are probably... I don't think they probably knew too much about it, right?
I don't think so, because it was like they would give him shockwave therapy for nearing off everything, wouldn't they? I
don't know if that was the 70s. Maybe it was. I can't remember the dates when that shit sort of stopped. But yeah, while inside the hospital, he things got even weirder. Like, he shaved his head, and he began doing, like, these sacrificial sort of body burnings of himself. So he would
kind of like branding, or
so he would get like a lit cigarette and burn his body. And one time in particular, he actually burnt the very tip of his own penis with a cigarette, which fucking Ooh, I'm grabbing hold of my ding dong right now, just because of the thought of that. It's not out, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everyone in between. It's not out. I'm not being a pervert. I'm just, what's it called? Phantom pain, sympathy pain.
It's like when you do the phantom limb syndrome. Right?
Yeah, I've got. Well, yeah, kind of, but phantom pain. It's like when if a lady is pregnant and, like, the husband or the partner, like, they feel.
Oh, that's sympathy pains.
That's
right?
what I meant. Yeah, that's what I've got. I've got sympathy pains for the penis. So all this shit goes on in the mental hospital, but then he checks himself out just 6 weeks later. By October of that year, he then readmitted himself back into another mental institution, only to be re-released weeks later again. So he sort of flip-flops in and out of these mental institutions, and literally nothing was seeming to help him, unfortunately.
Right, okay.
Herbert was known, and I mean, we laugh at some of this stuff because it is ridiculous, some of the behaviours of it, but I'm more than aware that, schizophrenia is
it's a mental health condition,
and I'm sure for the people involved it's not funny, but like everything, you've got to find a little sense
light
of humor
side
in
of
things,
life.
I guess, maybe, yeah. It's easy for me to say not having it, but I don't know.
Oh,
maybe.
I know, yeah.
I'm talking from a position of privilege here, probably. But yeah, Herbert was known to water his doormat every day. Which, yeah, it's a strange thing, right? I mean, if your next door neighbour was going out every morning and watering his doormat, I mean, I'd probably think it was kind of sweet, actually.
Unless he had one of them eco-friendly doormats.
No, this is the 70s.
But it's like the moss.
No, they do not. This isn't eco-friendly. This is the 70s. It's not eco-friendly doormat. But I think it was quite sweet. I'd be like, oh, look, he watering his doormat, like a sweet thing. No, you don't agree? No. You're shaking your head and smiling. But also he was complaining of hearing voices, and he began to adopt many different personas. So he kind of, much like the way maybe a teenager would experiment with their image and their hair and colour and stuff, he starts to do that, but
on a daily basis.
On the most extremist of all levels, he literally starts to become like what's that movie with Switch? No,
hearing about
Flip Flop. What's it called? The one with the dude's guy.
James McAvoy in it.
Yeah, that movie anyway. It's a bit like that. It's a bit like that. Yeah, it's a bit like that. Yeah. So he becomes these different personas, where he starts off, he is a yoga disciple at one point. So he starts doing yoga and he gets like tattoos and stuff about yoga on him. He becomes an amateur boxer. He becomes a hippie at one point.
Okay.
And then he also becomes, and get this one, which I would have loved to have seen this one, a sombrero wearing Mexican.
Oh dear.
I could assume that would be very sort of Speedy Gonzales, right? He's going to be doing that old school, very problematic Mexican accent from Speedy Gonzales.
Long mustaches on as well.
Yeah. He's going to be, yeah. He's not going to be just a normal standard Mexican as Mexicans are. No. He's going to be the stereotype of a Mexican. But yeah, he would change his accent, he would change his dress sense, he would change his mannerisms, he would do all that shit for all of these.
So is this showing that he's got multiple personality disorder?
Wow. I don't think so. Schizophrenia, I don't know the ins and outs of schizophrenia, but I don't know if that's got a little bit of that in it, maybe. I don't know. But eventually, and I wrote this next sentence, and I hope it makes sense, because I thought it was artistic and dramatic, but maybe it's just fucking dumb. But let me know if you get the picture. Okay, so... Eventually, Herbie's roulette of ever-changing personalities stopped, but the ball had unfortunately landed on murder. Does that make sense?
Oh, it does actually, yeah.
Perfect. I'm a poet. I'm a fucking storyteller. Yes?
No, I'm just curious about it. So how can you go from like a yoga disciple to a hippie?
Well, those things are very different from each other. Yoga disciple, amateur boxer, hippie. I mean, those are all very different from each other anyway.
Yeah, they are, but they're still very tame, harmless sort of things. So how's he gone from that to murder?
I don't know. I do not know. But it may have had something to do with the voices.
Oh, yeah.
In 1972, Herbert was now 25, so he's still pretty darn tootless young while all this is going on.
Yeah.
And he had to move back in with his parents in Santa Cruz. By now, he was hearing the voices in his head. This is the clincher, which I think. And they were confirming his previous paranoia about the earthquake he was thinking about the earthquake and stuff previously.
Yeah.
So the voices in his head were confirming that. They were saying there is an earthquake coming. So he was getting the confirmation from these voices.